Okay, today we are playing a game on Eichenwald. We are in the Diamond SR range, and we will be playing Moira the entire way through. We are also on the console today, so consider yourself forewarned. There is also a question that we will address in the email at the start, since it is very general and broad to Moira, so we'll just say it, talk about it now. Also, thank you very much for the money that you sent at the same time, Ella. Much appreciated, much love, and you will be pleased to know I ordered a controller today. Thank you. Also, I remember last time, because this is the second video we've seen now, I remember in the first email it said you were going for a rough couple months, and this one doesn't mention anything about that, so hopefully that means things have turned around. Either way, hope you're doing well, hope things are looking up. Much love. So, anyway, your question is, how often should I be putting regen on my team? I try to do it every few seconds, but I find myself regularly running low on resource. So, it's something to think about. Yeah, I try to keep the regen on people as much as possible, but it does stop the resource regeneration, so it's something to think about. It's generally, you only really want to put the regen on people when stuff is, like, happening, so rather than just keeping it on people constantly, it's like, are we currently in, like, a neutral, like, poking each other phase, or is, like, a fight about to happen? And if the answer is no, then it's not really worth putting the regen on people. Also, if you're, like, probably around half bar on the resource, at that point you probably want to think twice about just putting the regen on the people for the sake of putting the regen on them, because at that point you can get caught with no resource if you're unlucky and just like stopping, even though like Moira doesn't regen a lot, just ambiently, sometimes stopping the regen from healing, just put the regen on people is gonna be the thing that tips it over, so maybe think twice about it if you're like half-ish gauge. Also, if you find yourself running low on resource, you can use the healing orb to try and cover that, because if your team is currently being poked, taking damage, team fights happening, but you're running low on gauge, like half or below, it can be worth just, like, using the healing orb and, like, bouncing that across your team a couple times. Like, it's never gonna stay the whole 10 seconds, but, you know, you can usually get, like, 2 passes out of it at least. And that's usually enough, because the healing orb is, like, a lot of healing still. That's usually enough to keep people topped or keep people alive while you sip some of the bad men and get some resource back that way. So you can, if you find yourself running low, use the healing orb to, like, cover the fact that you need to, like, catch back up on your resource now. But, you know, so try and just think, like, is my team really taking much damage right now, even if it's just, like, poke? And if the answer's no, it's probably not worth putting the regen on them now. And if you're getting low, wait, use the healing orb if you have to, like, catch back up again, is what I would say. So, anyway, let's start the game. So, we're attacking Eichenwald first. There's a disclaimer for the first, I cannot hear anything. There we go. It's not got a great connection. So, gotta attack Eichenwald first. There's a disclaimer for very early on in this video, because we thought the game was going to get cancelled and threw ourselves off the map. But it's in the email. There's a disclaimer about it, so when we see that happen, we'll be forgiving. So, we've managed to just kind of walk through the doorway, which is very nice. Zarya popped out behind us. That was very scary. We're playing Moira. We escape. Use the healing orb to heal ourselves. Everything's fine. Zarya is still alive. She's doing a tremendous job of just staggering herself even more. Here it comes. You can see it beginning. So right here, we do drain ourselves of resource. We don't... If we're gonna throw the healing orb in there, that's probably gonna be good enough. The healing orb is, like, enough in most situations. It's, like, a lot of healing output. So just, like, throwing it in there, and then we didn't need to keep healing after that point. Genji already fucking died. Ryan's probably gonna be fine with just the healing orb, and then we can save some of our resource. So there was the throwing ourselves off the map, you know. It happens, whatever. Thought the game was going to end. Game didn't end. Understandable. And they're back. So, yeah. It's about an 18-minute video. You can't see that. I'm in the way. It's an 18-minute video. They obviously came back. So we do still have Coalescence built up. Both Ryans used Earth Shatter. Ours was fine. Well, that's always very fun when you start getting pulled into the Graviton, and the game goes, no, you're good, actually. That's always very fun. Very scary. So we use Coalescence, both rounds just used Earth Shatter, ours didn't get knocked down, well, we didn't get knocked down, that's justification enough to use Coalescence when Earth Shatters are going around. Coalescence is not a very good defensive ultimate, unfortunately, but if it's something like Earth Shatter, if you can dodge it, usually Coalescence will keep your teammates alive. Throwing the damage orbs, a little greedy. The Roadhog wasn't exactly looking good right there. But at the same time, we got Mercy to res him. Doesn't really matter that much if he died, because we have to, like, go through this whole gate opening process anyway, so, like, Mercy dying right there, you know, that sucks, but nothing's happening right now, really. We're still having to push through the gate before we can really get anywhere, so it doesn't matter overly so, to be honest. So we're touching the payload. This is not ideal, because we're the only healer alive right now, and our friends are taking damage up here. But sometimes your friends don't want to touch the payload, so you have to be the one that touches the payload. Ideally, it's not us, but what can you do? So we do run... we threw Healing Orb over there. Fair enough, they're getting damaged at that point. Unfortunately, it does bounce off into the sky, but that's the Healing Orb for you, or just the orbs in general. We have run really low on resource. Here is where it's worth using the Healing Orb to try and catch up, because, I mean, even now, we don't necessarily need to do that either, because, like, nobody over there has taken that much damage. This damage is just from Fire Strike going through. They're probably going to be fine right now. We take the damage, though, so that's where I'd use the Healing Orb, because, frankly, Mercy players are not to be trusted. But here's where we could use the Healing Orb to try and, like, catch back up a little bit. We still want to keep it in the team as much as possible during this, so... ideally, go back a little bit, because we've moved around. Go back a little bit more. So it's like, here's where I'm like, alright, I'm going to use the Healing Orb to heal myself at this point more than anything else. We can step forward a little bit, and then try to bounce the Healing Orb so that it goes back and forth between the archway a lot. The cool thing about the archway is it does have a roof, so you can hopefully stop the orb from bouncing off into the sky. If we, like, are prepared to move forward a little bit and do some math. If we're not prepared to go far enough up to, like, bounce it off the roof of the arch if it goes up, just, like, back and forth across this is good enough. And then while that's happening, our teammates are being healed by the orb, because it's going to get at least 2 passes. At that point, it's kind of at the whim of the physics engine, but it'll usually go like ding, ding. Who knows after that? And then while it's doing that, we're healed, teammates are being healed by the orb, and we can just spend that time to, like, freely sip on the enemy team, because the Healing Orb and Mercy will be enough to keep them alive while we're focusing on that. And we still want to try and keep the orb around as much as possible. Like, just throwing it up like that, you know, it gets the job done, but it's a little bit lacking in ambition. Even right now, it's still not ideal, but we're trying to maximize the amount of time our orb spends around our team, or spends around the enemy team if we're throwing the damage orb. So even something really minor, like rather than just throwing it straight ahead, if we angle it, like so, and then it bounces off of that, it doesn't spend a lot more time near the team like that, but it spends more time near the team than if we just throw it straight off in them, because it has to go over, ding, and slow the whole time, so... that's healing somebody anyway. So it spends a little bit more time near the allied team. And ideally, the payload's kind of in the way from where we're standing, but ideally we can bounce it back and forth across the area, but the payload's a little in the way for that. And this payload's really lumpy and rounded and just an inconvenient, ugly shape. So the physics engine tends to not like bouncing orbs off this one very much, because it's gonna, unless you hit it like dead on or get like this bit, it's fucking going off vertically some way or other. It's an annoying payload. Like, Rialto's payload, fucking fantastic from Moira. Nice and smooth. Big square, nice edges to use. The physics engine isn't going to do anything wonky with it, unlike this ugly, lumpy mess. Anyway, even something just like that. It maximizes the amount of time it spends near your team. Or you can, like, step back a little bit, bounce it that way if we're, like, retreating backwards. Either way, you know, it spends more time around the team. If we can do that, it might even go, like, off that wall, over that. That's obviously not how it's going to go physics-wise. It might go, like, ding, ding, you can get some stuff where it spends a little bit more time around sometimes. Either way, that was really rambling and incoherent. I'm sorry, I'm still sick, okay? It won't fuck off. Life is hard. Sometimes McCree does that too, yeah. It's a fair enough time to use Coalescence. Unfortunately, McCree was doing this at the same time. Life is hard. But anyway, try not to just, like, throw the orb straight away. Try and think of, like, the geometry you can use to maximize the amount of time it'll spend next to your team, or the enemy team, if it's the damage orb. The damage orb you tend to not have to worry about too much unless you're in, like, a duel. Because if we're in, like, this kind of area and we're, like, fighting Genji, right? That's where we'd think about, like, bouncing it off of, like, the wall opposite us so that it spends more time around the duel we're having. Whereas if we just throw the damage orb into the enemy team, that usually gets all 200 damage out of it, or at least very close to. You tend to not have to worry about the geometry so much with the damage orb. The healing orb, you want to think about a little bit more. Don't really need to use the healing orb right now. Ryan's pretty much fine. We're getting to halfway on the orb, or on our resource, but nothing too much is happening right now, so we could throw a damage orb if we're feeling brave, or we might go, fight's about to start, I might want to save the orb to use it for something more specific. Either way, didn't really need to use the healing orb right there. Ryan's pretty much fine, things are still neutral. We had over half of our resource, we could have saved it. Got hit by Earth Shatter. Anytime you're playing against Ryan as Moira, bear in mind that Earth Shatter is going to happen sometimes, and the enemy, our Reinhardt, he can't be trusted. Fortunately, playing Moira, fatal dodge, Earth Shatter. Okay. If we didn't get caught in the geometry behind us, we might have actually lived through that one. It was getting close. Just bear in mind, Earth Shatter might happen, and our Reinhardt can't be trusted. I'll use Fade to dodge Earth Shatter, even if I'm really confident our Reinhardt's going to block it, just in case. You do have to react to it, so, you know, that's hard. I'm always just listening for the voice cue. Human beings, as it would happen, are better reacting to things audibly rather than visually. We have slightly better reaction time for audio. I'm always just listening for Hammer if I'm playing Moira, because I'm not usually looking at the Reinhardt unless, like, I'm trying to sip him, you know? Usually something else is going on at the time I'm trying to focus on. I'm just listening for the voice line, but react better, not necessarily particularly helpful advice. So we've got Coalescence built up. Ryan's deciding to go this way. I don't really like doing this. This makes me very scared, and I don't want to do it. But Ryan's decided to go this way, so it's what we're going to be doing as well. So we start using Coalescence. Fair enough. Fight's about to start. We end up mostly killing Mercy. That's a lot more self-restraint than I would have shown right there. Because I would have kept on that Mercy to kill her. Instead, we veer off to, like, start healing this person over here. Which is probably the better play overall. But, like, I'm just like, dude, that Mercy was so fucking close to death. Like, she has, like, less than 50 health. Like, I would have kept it on her. But this is probably the better play overall. Mercy that low, we got a Reaper and a Genji in there. Hopefully they can finish the job on the Mercy that's basically dead. And we heal the Reinhardt instead. We're playing a healer. I like to kill people, though. I have poor impulse control. Anyway, so now, fight. Getting pretty sketchy at this point, but looks like we're probably still going to get away with it. Ryan used Earth Shatter over here. Basically guarantees we're going to get it. There, McCree did start using Deadeye as well. Got Mercy, didn't get anybody else. I imagine that's mostly why we faded right there, as well as to get over to the Earth Shatter. Either way, got a little sketchy, but it was still going to be pretty hard for them to win the fight at that point. So we've almost got Coalescence built up again. Really high on resource. Ryan just did something really dumb. This is one of those situations where it is usually worth throwing a healing orb anyway. Because he hasn't taken any damage yet, but he's gonna. Alright, like, this was not a good charge. If he hit that Reinhardt, it would have actually been okay, but he didn't. So, and if the enemy Ryan countercharged him, he dies. Regardless, though. This is the kind of situation it's usually worth throwing a healing orb preemptively, because that guy's gonna take damage, and he's probably gonna take a lot of damage. He does. Now, he would have died regardless. There's no way the healing orb saved him from that spike of damage. But, you know he's gonna take damage when he does stuff like that. So we've almost got Coalescence built up again. Like, this fight's a wash. We don't want to use Coalescence right now, obviously, but we've got it for the next fight at least. We have built Coalescence very quickly, which is good for Moira. You know, we're trying to build Coalescence quickly. Ryan just threw his life away again. Great. Doesn't mean we have to try and use Coalescence quickly as well. Reaper's doing this, whatever, fair enough. We're regrouping right now anyway. Him spinning right there doesn't necessarily do very much. It does usually tilt your team when they start dying like this, but that's their own fault for being dumbasses. So, not my problem. I was saying something about Coalescence. We do want to use it quickly, since that's the only benefit of having an ult that charges quickly, but we've been using it quickly. It's just a general statement, you know. The only benefit of having a fast-charging ultimate is if you use it fast, which is something that Moira players and Ana players, in particular, are, seen Ana players hold on to their nano boost for so long. Dude, you charge nano boost so fucking fast. Like, Ana does so much healing. So that got very scary, because there was a Reaper behind us while we were using Coalescence. He did almost die. Or we did almost die, rather. So we had to, like, go pretty far in to avoid that. Pretty much this fight was gonna be bad for us. It didn't exactly get off to a great start with the Reaper situation. It didn't. The situation did not dramatically improve. Unfortunately, we just threw a damage orb, fire orb. I wish. So unfortunately, we threw a fire orb. Oh, did it again. Damage orb right there, because Graviton just happened, but, you know, that's gonna happen sometimes. Sometimes you use the cooldown, it seems well, and then you go, well, if only I'd known. We died pretty suddenly right there. We were, like, almost full health, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we died pretty suddenly right there. That would have had to have been a pretty fast reaction to fade out. We did have fade. We could have potentially lived, but sometimes you die really unexpectedly. I wasn't expecting to die right there, so react better is not particularly helpful advice. It's okay, you know. Sometimes you die unexpectedly. You can't, like, Overwatch is a fast-paced game. You can't be expected to keep track of every little thing that's happening constantly and react to every little thing that happens, you know? Sometimes you're gonna die, and it's gonna feel like it came out of nowhere. And that's fine. It happens. I'm sick, so obviously the correct way to rehydrate is gonna be with fucking Pepsi, isn't it? That's nice, sensible, healthy decision I'm making right there. Fuck you. It's fine. I'm getting better. It's just been... It's not even been that bad, to be honest. Like, I've had worse sicknesses. It's just... I'm just so fucking tired, dude. You know what I mean? You know, it's one of those where it's not like any one symptom's that bad. Like, I got a headache, got the sore throat, obviously. You know, the classics. And that sucks. But they're not that bad, really. I'm just really fucking tired. It's one of those kinds of illnesses. I just want to sleep, dog. Anyway. So we got a Bastion now. Very exciting, very fun for all parties involved. Bastion, also, tremendously, shockingly low win ratio and pick ratio right now. If you watched from, like, 2 weeks ago, we talked about that stat because I just wanted to go like, Jesus Christ, dude. Bastion's fucked, isn't he? He's got, like, a fucking... Like, it was a 2 decimal place pick ratio. It was, like, 0.0 something pick ratio. And then an 11% win ratio. I remember that number perfectly. It's pretty bad. Bastion's not okay, dude. He's not okay. They did nerf shields. Anytime you nerf shields, you're nerfing Bastion, by extension. People were like, yo, if shields are getting nerfed, that's a buff for Bastion, right? Because now it'll shed the shields even faster. People have the wrong stance on, like, Bastion compositions, because But yeah, like, you see Bastion. Bastion's the thing you're thinking about on the Bastion comp, obviously. But Bastion, without shields, is fucking worthless. So anytime shields get nerfed, that's not helping Bastion, that's hurting Bastion. Anyway. Most people, I think, probably know this, but Reddit is not most people. Jesus Christ, what a mess that one turned into suddenly. I just, like, wasn't following it super close, and then I looked around and just went, yo, dude, our team is fucked, aren't they? Holy shit. So that's fair enough right there. Now we are going to have to depend on that ugly, misshapen monster, probably, for this, but not necessarily. Because throwing the healing orb like this is going to heal us a little bit, and it's going to heal Bastion a little bit, but then it's gone. It's not doing anything once it goes over into that corner, right? So ideally, we bounce this in a way that keeps it on the point for longer. So we can use this ugly nonsense right here, which would... We don't want to throw our orbs vertically, because as soon as you put any, like, vertical on it, it's going to go, like, dink, dink, or just go straight up, and then it's not doing anything anymore. So if we're going to bounce it off the payload, we're pretty much going to try and use, like, this corner right here, because if we hit this, it's going up. Or we could use the front if we move forward a little bit. Or, if we don't want to depend on this ugly monster, I understand. If we aim it like so, it's... I'm trying to draw, like, the exact angle. If we throw it like that, it's going to bounce back at a pretty steep angle, and it might just hit the payload and then bounce off nowhere again. But even if it gets to the payload and bounces off again, it still did at least a half pass across the point again. Bouncing it like that, even if the physics engine doesn't agree with us, which, with this building also, sometimes gets a little bit fucked up. There's a few ridges on there that it doesn't always play nicely with. Just throwing it like that, goes across the point once, it's gone. We throw it like that, it's going to at least get halfway back across the point again, before it bounces off God knows where. And it might do another full pass, like ideally, it would go like tink, and then go like past the payload, bounce off the wall over there, and then it's going to kind of go off into nothing, but it did like 3 passes across the point. And then it spent more time in the area, more time healing our teammates. Sometimes you need to think about these things, like, kind of quickly. Like, you don't... Obviously, I get to sit back and go, ah, yes, if we aimed for this exact point on the wall right now, that would have been most supremely optimum. But, in the game, you don't usually get to think about it that clearly. In-game, you're usually just like, oh god, I'm going to use the healing orb, and you just throw it at, like, the surface that looks like it's going to get the most out of it. Like... You can't always think about it, but, like, if you're here, sometimes you just go, oh, I'm going to use a healing orb, oh, I'll just throw it, like, here. And then sometimes it goes that way, sometimes it goes that way, you know. But it gets more than if you just throw it that way. So, you know, try and think about, like, you'll want the healing orb, at least, to spend as much time around your team as possible. Not to sound like a broken record, but that's all I really do. I wouldn't use Coalescence here, this fight's done. That's why I went back. That fight's done. Save Coalescence for the next one. There is another question in the email coming up for a specific point pretty soon. Which I've tried very hard to remember. It's been a struggle, but I have remembered. Did you see that guy over there? God damn, he fucking flew. Not to sound like a broken record about the orbs, but I like to repeat myself a lot. And, you know, we're in Diamond. We're playing Moira. Basically. Like, we're playing Moira pretty well. This is the point where we spend more time nitpicking things, because we've already achieved a degree of mastery. Now we're talking more about, like, refinement stuff, right? Which is, like, usually pretty nitpicking. So, we'll go to the question now, which is, at 12:30-ish, my soldier goes up to the high ground to attempt to kill their Hanzo, which he fails at. I considered going along with him, but decided against it. Is it worth following him to make sure he doesn't die, even if it takes 2 of us out of the fight? So, right now, the enemy team is kind of not really doing anything. So, it's worth thinking about, at least, because we stand to maybe get back before the fight even begins. But the main thing here is, like, we can't let this guy just keep doing this, right? Like, we have to stop him doing this. We can't let people do this in polite company. because this is frankly unacceptable, and if we let people get away with this, God, it's gonna be fucking anarchy. There's gonna be riots in the street before we know it. It might just lead to the collapse of the Western civilization. Who knows? Before too long. That's my impression of an alt-right YouTuber. Everything has to be a cataclysmic level event. Anyway, so we can't just let this guy do this. It's not acceptable. So it would be worth considering going with the soldier. I'd probably just go up the staircase behind us, like over to the left right now, and just try and kill him, to be honest with you, because even if you don't necessarily kill someone as Moira, it's usually pretty easy to, like, drive them off, if nothing else, because this guy's nobody's gonna heal this dude all the way over here. So if we, like, come up the staircase over there, and then just, like, at the top of this staircase, throw the damage orb at him, and then, like, sip him from the doorway a little bit, that's gonna make him think twice about staying on the high ground, if nothing else. And, like, here's what I'd do. This would be easier to do on PC, but I'm also just this way as a player. I play pretty aggressively, where I would come up here, throw the damage orb, and then fade to the other side of Hanzo, and then start sipping him from behind, because then he's getting me sipping him, the damage orb is going past him, I changed sides on him, so he has to react to that, and if I'm close enough to him, he might just one-shot me. This is a risk I'm prepared to make, because he has to one-shot me, or I'm going to win this duel. So, and I'm not necessarily planning to kill this guy, I'm just trying to get rid of him. If I kill him, great. I'm just trying to get him off the high ground. And I'm, like most people, once they get down to like 125 health and they're fighting Moira, they start panicking pretty badly. So, usually at that point, they start trying to run away from you, or panic, at which point they're even less likely to kill you. So that's what I'd personally do. But the safer option is just go with Soldier, and stick with him, throw the damage orb at the guy still, and mostly just rely on Soldier to take care of it and, like, help him out. And that would be pretty much fine to do right now. We don't even have to go that far, because we can go up the left side here. Soldier's sprinting this way, so it looks like he's probably going to come up this way with us as well. And that doesn't really take us that out of the fight. Like, if we go up there and we win this fight, they just jump down, and we're with our team again. So, in this case, yes, I definitely think it's worth it. You do have to wait, because, like, right now, the enemy team is also still waiting for the gate to open. So, we have, like, some free time right now, where they're not really pushing the payload. The fight's gonna start soon, but it hasn't started yet. Whereas, if a fight was actively going on down here right now, we would maybe think twice about doing this, because then main healer leaving in the middle of the fight is different to leaving before the fight started. But again, this isn't that far away, so maybe you weigh it up like that, because we can't let this guy do that. We need to get rid of him. I'll take myself out of the fight for, like, 5 seconds tops, probably. Like, we're not going far. I'll take myself out of the fight just to try and make sure we get rid of this guy, and then I'm back with my team again. And healing orb's almost up. If a fight was happening right now, we could say, hey, let me bounce the healing orb back and forth over here a little bit. I go with Soldier while it's doing that. I can't throw the damage orb at Hanzo anymore, but my team's being healed. I'm helping Soldier anyway. 2-on-1. We probably still win this fight, even if I don't have the damage orb. Unless Hanzo gets lucky. Or is a god. And, you know, then, like, alright, I was gone from the fight for, like, 5 seconds. My healing orb was here for, like, say 3. I wasn't gone that long, you know. You have to weigh it up in the moment, but I would go with him on this one, because no fight's happening, seems pretty safe, we don't have to go that far. But you do have to, like, consider all of these elements when you go for that kind of thing. But I would have gone for him right there. Even if Soldier didn't go up, I would have gone by myself, okay? That's how I am. I look at that guy and I think, if we let people do this, fucking communism's gonna take over before you know it. I gotta put a stop to this guy right now. For the sake of everyone, frankly. Anyway. So, Ryan used Earth Shatter right there. That pretty much won the fight right there. Soldier did die behind us right now to Hanzo. So Hanzo is presumably still on the roof right now. I like the aggression on that one. Go off, try to get the Mercy, seeing as she's off by herself. Ryan did die, but Mercy was tethered to him at the time. I would have done the same thing. Try and get the Mercy. Only there, Ryan's alive. Hopefully Mercy can keep him alive, you know. Even if we stayed, he might have died regardless, really, but I liked the aggression. I would have done the same thing. So we, you know, you're not going to keep him alive through that, but we did everything we could. We threw the healing orb before we used Coalescence as well, which is good practice. Try and use your orb before you use Coalescence. Because, you know, Moira is a lot about just, like, small optimizations in gameplay, really. Like, once you broadly understand how to play Moira, there's a lot of, like, micro stuff you can do, like putting the regen on people, using the healing orb when you're getting low on resource to catch back up, blah, 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 blah. One of those, like, efficiencies is using your orb before you use Coalescence, because then the cooldown is doing something, right? You can't use it while you're using Coalescence. We obviously understand that in this game, we just did it. But, broadly speaking, for everybody else, try to use your orb before you use Coalescence. Now, don't hold Coalescence. If you have a good time to use Coalescence, but like you've got like 2 seconds on the orb cooldown or something, don't feel pressured to wait for it if you have like a really good Coalescence opportunity in front of you. It's just something like, if you got the chance, use the orb. If you feasibly can, use the orb before you use Coalescence. Then the cooldown's doing something, rather than nothing while you're using Coalescence. Wow, Ryan didn't die. That's absolutely incredible, considering everything that was happening. Roadhog died. Ryan didn't die, though. That went surprisingly well, honestly. This is pretty free. We are low on resource right now, and Genji's not very scary, even if he's got a Mercy with him. Right now, I would consider, because we're in such a confined location, it's really easy to get repeated use out of the healing orb here. It might be worth bouncing the healing orb in this hallway just so we can sip Genji right now. Because if the healing orb is in here with us, it's possible, but very unlikely we die to Genji, especially with Fade up. And then we could recoup some of our resource right now off of Genji with relative safety. He comes in after us, like... just because we are low on resource right there, it might be worth using the healing orb to guarantee safety and then sip Genji. He's not that scary. We could possibly still die doing that, but it would be hard. And then we could get a bit of our resource back for this up-and-coming fight. So Genji's using Dragon Blade in there. We did get very scared. We don't really need to be that scared right now. I would wait on the cooldown. No, he did look at us, actually. I didn't see him come out the other doorway. I thought he was still in there with Roadhog. But no, he actually comes there, and then we look at him and we dash away. Never mind. That's fair. That's a fair enough response, given he was looking at us. Or it looked like he was looking at us, at least. I didn't see him come out the other door. So there Ryan used Earth Shatter. It wasn't... his team wasn't in position to capitalize on that one. He did it late for Genji. You know. All's well. We elect to hold Coalescence right there. We use it now. It would have been justified to use it before. Things were getting a little scary. It looked like Ryan might die, but that was definitely a fair enough time to do it. Got a little greedy towards the end, but to be honest with you, I would have done the same thing. I would have done the exact same thing still. We got away. If you don't get punished, you don't have to learn. That's what I always say. Minor thing. That's not going to get too far out that doorway, off that angle. It looks like it's going to bounce off the frame. Yeah, it's going to bounce off the frame. That's not really going to get that far out the doorway. If we go, like, a little bit further out, we could just, like, throw it straight out the doorway. And that would be pretty safe to do, because we've still got, like, Fade up right now. So if anything unexpected is there waiting for us, we can fade away. Because that damage orb isn't going to do very much. It's still ticking on people. Cool. It's just like, we could have just, like, thrown it out the door. But it still, like, looks like it got pretty close to full damage anyway, so hey, shows what I know. Our teammates got killed by Deadeye in Graviton. There's literally nothing we do about that one. Except kill McCree before he does it, I guess. That's one of those things where your team's gonna die and there's nothing you can do about it. You know, sometimes you look at your team as Moira and you think, yep, they're gonna fucking die. That's the thing with Moira Mercy, is we don't have a defensive ultimate, which basically means we don't have Lucio right now. Lucio is better than Zenyatta right now, broadly speaking. And not having Sound Barrier or Immortality Field from Baptiste is scary. This is more comment on, like, Mercy picking Mercy than, like, us being Moira. It's just, like, this particular combo of healers, very common. Unfortunately, that's the weakness of it, is we don't have a defensive ultimate, or a defensive ability, if you want to count Immortality Field. Immortality Field counts. Like, you can count Immortality Field next to things like Trance and Sound Barrier. It's, like, that strong as an ability. It's just not necessarily as reliable as they are. Because, like, Dragon Blade, Immortality Field is not saving you from Dragon Blade. Because Genji can just cut it while he's cutting the people in the field. But it deserves to be compared to Sound Barrier and Trance. It's just... This is the thing that currently annoys me the most with people playing Overwatch. This is startlingly common, where people are playing Baptiste and they just kind of, like, use the Immortality Field on cooldown. Like, just kind of, like, like, nothing's happening, we're not even really fighting right now, like, there's nothing gonna kill anybody, really, right now, unless, like, fucking Jeff himself peers into the game and just throws a random lightning bolt down. Nobody's gonna die right now. And they just throw Immortality Field on the ground. Like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Mate, this is a fucking long and important cooldown. You have maybe save that for a fight, rather than Hanzo's peeking a corner when they don't even have a sniper. This is startlingly common. People just throw it out there without thinking about it, just kind of, whatever. Just throw the fucking lamp out and just, like, I'm helping? Oh shit, I threw the lamp out when nothing was happening, and then their Genji went, I'm gonna kill the enemy team. And what could I do? I looked at Moira and I went, Moira, you need to heal your teammates. We fucking died. There was nothing I could do, dude. You weren't healing. Anyway, Baptiste players are the thing that currently is annoying me the most about Overwatch for that reason. Anyway, things are not looking good for them right now. We wanted to heal that person, but they kept getting further away from us. Such is life when you're playing healer. We did throw a damage orb instead of a healing orb, which would have been justified there since he was getting pretty low, but... you know. We've all been chasing after the guy that's low health, and he just keeps running around more corners, and we're running after him like, if you just stopped, I'd fucking save you. But you just keep finding more walls to hide behind. We've all been there before. Anyway, that's a lot of healing. That was a pretty short Eichenwald game, all things considered. That's a lot of healing. Fucking 26 Earth Shatter stuns. Holy shit. Ryan had a really good game. Great job. Anyway. So, thing that stood out the most, basically just try and, like, think about getting more recurring value out of the healing orb. Again, the damage orb, you don't really have to worry about this as much unless you're dueling someone. Just throwing that into the enemy team is almost always good enough. The healing orb, we want to bounce it around the team as much as we can. That was the other thing that stood out the most, really. Again, you know, Diamond, this is more like refinement, because at this point, like, all the major issues have been hammered out. We're just trying to refine things more at this point. So, anyway. So, thank you very much for watching if you did. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. If you felt I answered your questions from the email inadequately, please let me know. I will try to expand further. Again, thank you for the money. Much love. Hope things are doing well. Hope things are improving for you, since I think you said things were going rough for you. And, yes, fuck, I've lost my place because I appended something to it. Thank you very much for watching. Questions. Start streaming on Twitch Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 8 p.m. EST till midnight EST. There's links to the channel in the description. And if you like the video, if you watched, please like and subscribe. Thank you. I hope it helped. I sleep.